name is Devontae Grace. I'm a writer and director. When I was in high school, there was a show called First and 10 that many of you now know as ESPN First Take. The show would always come on during school hours, so I was almost never able to catch it. I couldn't wait for summertime to roll around so I could sit home all day and watch one man talk sports on television. And that one man was Rob Parker, my friend and a great mentor. I always respected Rob from afar because Rob was one of the very few people on television that absolutely did not care what anyone had to say about his opinions, whether that be sports or political. My respect for Rob has grown even further because I see how dedicated the man is to pushing forward the next generation of young people. I'm a young kid who decided he wanted to move out to Los Angeles to pursue his dreams, and I knew absolutely nobody that lived in Los Angeles. I DM'd Rob on Instagram, and not only did Rob respond, he responded within a couple minutes. As soon as I got to LA, Rob was able to sit down with me, and he assured me that whatever I needed, he would always be there to help me. Rob has helped me and so many other people. A young man from Jamaica, Queens, who decided to pursue his dreams, is now trying to help other young people pursue their dreams. This is the story of a man who has helped so many people, including myself, my friend and mentor, Mr. Rob Parker.
But of all the things I've accomplished in my career, the thing that resonates the most, that I'm most proud of, is the mentoring of other sports writers and broadcasters coming up behind me.
My name is Darren Haynes, and before I was a SportsCenter anchor at ESPN and now the sports director at the CBS station in Washington, D.C., Rob Parker gave me my first opportunity on television.
Whenever they come up with the list for greatest mentors ever, Rob Parker's name should be toward the top of that list. I'll never forget reaching out to Rob via email in December of 2007. And he got right back to me and said I could intern with him in Detroit.
I actually was gonna quit pursuing my dream to go and work at Wachovia Bank in North Carolina. That's how bad it was. Rob cussed me out. Said, no way, no how.
It was easy for me to want to mentor because people mentored me when I started my career in 1986 at the Daily News in New York. I was a young guy, 22 years old, needed guidance, needed help, and people went out of their way to look out for me. And I thought to myself, if I ever get in a position where I can help others, I will do it. I can never forget the day that I went to go cover my first St. John's basketball game on the road in Buffalo. I got off the plane, wasn't sure where I was supposed to go and how this all went, making my first road trip. And there was Bill Rhoden from the New York Times. And you know what he said to me? Man, get in my car. And he showed me the ropes. I didn't have to ask him for help. He asked me to join him, and I'll always be thankful. In Cincinnati, there was Hal McCoy, the Hall of Fame baseball writer. When I showed up, I was this hotshot new young reporter from New York, here to kick some butt in Cincinnati. Hal was the dean. He had covered the team for like 25 years. And he looked out for me. He didn't fear me or run from me. He didn't know me from Adam. My very first day, my laptop didn't work. I was stuck. Hal just met me earlier that day, and you know what he said? Don't worry about it. Use my laptop and write your story. I was a competitor. I was the new guy. But Hal looked out for me. And he taught me in my years in Cincinnati how to be a great baseball writer and mentored me. I watched how he did things.
I am Alexander Pineda, and I am one of the lucky people who call Rob Parker a mentor. Rob has been a part of my life for 6 years now. I met Rob at the NABJ convention in Boston in 2014. I introduced myself to Rob in the lobby, We exchanged information, and that was the start of what's been an incredible bond for me. Meeting Rob was incredible. As a kid, I was such a big fan, and he took the time to talk. He showed care, and not only that, he would reach out to me. Anytime he was in New York, he would say, "Hey, Alex, I'm going to be in town. Can you come meet me?" He introduced me to a bunch of other guys that are also his mentees. And, Rob, at this point now, we've developed a very personal relationship. Rob is family. I can pick up the phone and call Rob about anything.
A lot of people that I've come across over the matriculation of my young career are sometimes tight-lipped. But Rob is definitely not that. Whenever I have a question, he's there to give constructive feedback, to give advice. Even if it's something that I'm not ready to hear in that moment, I still appreciate it because he's very honest. And in some moments, he doesn't even give advice. Sometimes he's just a sounding board, someone to listen to you. And I've enjoyed his mentorship over the past 9 years. I met him in 2011. At the NABJ conference in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, my hometown. I was just a young kid, ready to jump into the career field of journalism. And he has always been there for me since that day.
What's happening is Solomon Williams, longtime mentee of Rob Parker. In 2015, I interned with Rob, emailed a ton of people who work in sports media in the local market. Rob put in over 3 decades in the Detroit market. He was the only person to respond to my email, let me intern with him the whole summer, covered Tigers baseball games. We did radio during the afternoons. Just an incredible person. Anybody knows him knows. He takes pride in what he does and takes even more pride in treating people right. And that's what he taught me is be authentic, be yourself, and always do well and do right by people and pay it forward.
The year was 1996, and I was nervous. I was apprehensive, and I was in Monterrey, Mexico to cover the Mets versus the San Diego Padres. I aspired to be a baseball writer, and I ran into Rob Parker and Claire Smith and Pedro Gomez. But first, I ran into Rob Parker and told him of my dreams. He said, "Okay, kid, send me your clips." And I would send the clips to Rob Parker, and he would mail them back. This is snail mail days. And the key was to keep in touch. And Rob always sent me back my clips. And over the years, I've found that if you find folks who invest in your career, who have ownership in your career, they'll make sure you succeed. And in Rob Parker, we've seen that across sports. So the best advice I could give you is find a mentor, find somebody who believes in you, and trust that he will help you.
My name is Mikkel Ramos, and there's so many things, great things that I can say about Rob Parker. But one of the things that I've actually cherished about him, as far as him being my mentor, is the fact that he's so hands-on with it. And he doesn't just tell you how the dream can be. He shows you. My second time in LA, I said, "Hey, Rob, I'm coming out there. I would like to have a coffee with you if I can." He did me one better. He gave me a tour of Fox Sports. He showed me around, let me meet people, let me see how they operate around there, and then invited me out with other people that are like me, that do the same thing as me. And that's what you need. Someone that's just not going to tell you how it is, but also show you. I'm so forever grateful, and it's such an awesome feeling to have Rob Parker as my mentor. And I hope as his mentee, I'm doing him justice.
It's easy to say. I don't think I'd be here if it weren't for him. The constant encouragement, the constant guidance and tutelage, always being there to support you, to lift you up from that abyss that you will inevitably fall into. Before my career even got started, I had become so despondent and not being able to capture that first opportunity. I actually was going to quit pursuing my dream to go and work at Wachovia Bank in North Carolina. That's how bad it was. Rob cussed me out. Said, "No way, no how. Hey, look, okay? You just can't be like that. You can't give up on your dreams, okay? That's just whack. It's just whack." That's what he said. I listened. And that was the beginning of listening to him for the next 30 years. Just a great man, a great friend.
My name is Alvaro Richardson. I cover the University of Texas football team here in Austin for OrangeBuzz.com and the Rivals.com network. I've covered the Detroit Lions. I've covered the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I even covered the NFL for Yahoo. But let me tell you about Rob Parker. As a mentor, as a person who I met probably sometime in 1994 at an NABJ conference when I was just a high school writer, Rob Parker agreed to help me out and help me with my career. And the thing that he did that I appreciate to this day, I would mail him clips just like this, and he would just go ahead and critique it. I still have a handwritten note from Rob Parker from 2001, him at apparently a Courtyard Marriott. Being basically critiquing my articles and letting me know how I need to improve. And by the way, saying to myself, hey man, I tried to contact you. Here's my number. Give me a call so we can talk. That's the kind of mentor that Rob Parker is. I've been able to achieve a lot, but I'd be ignorant and selfish to say that it wasn't because of what he was able to pour into me for all these years throughout my entire career. So to Rob Parker, I say thank you. I appreciate you, brother. I love you. And you, because of what you've been able to do in me and show me as a young writer who still was just trying to figure out his way. Anytime I've come across a young writer, I've always tried to help them. And when they ask me, like, man, why do you do this? Because so many other people won't. I said, because I had a mentor in Rob Parker, and he poured into me, and that's the reason why I'm pouring into you. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate you, brother.
My very first mentor was Ronnie Duncan at WTNH Action News 8 in New Haven when I was in college at Southern Connecticut State University. Ronnie was the weekend sportscaster. I got to intern with him. He taught me so much. He was great, impressionable for me. He was a young black guy doing exactly what I wanted. Ronnie was funny, he was caring. Matter of fact, I still remember my big breakthrough with Ronnie. Ronnie allowed me to write his script and the highlights for one of the games. And it was a college football game, and I still remember to this day, the running back had a big 75-yard touchdown run, so I wanted to do something creative. And so I wrote in the script, the guy took the handoff and I said, and AB, see you later, a 75-yard touchdown run. Channel 8 in New Haven was an ABC affiliate. Ronnie looked at it, he said, that's pretty good, I like it, and started to use it. It gave me so much confidence. Ronnie also took me in with his family. He was young, married, kids, and I remember his youngest daughter, Jerika Duncan. She was young. Jerika Duncan now is a CBS News correspondent on the network level.
So I first met Rob at the 2011 NABJ convention in Philadelphia. I was fresh out of college, didn't really know what I was doing, went up to Rob and bluntly asked him if he can be my mentor. Rob immediately snatched my cell phone out of my hands and put his number right there in my cell phone and said I can call him at any time. And Rob has kept his word all these years later. I can text, call Rob at all hours of the morning, all hours at night, and he will provide advice and answer any questions that I have. If you look in the dictionary at mentor, Rob's picture and name should be in there. He is not only a great mentor, but a great friend, and I am honored to call Rob Parker my mentor.
My name is Mitch Brown. I'm the sports director at Watch Fox in Columbia, South Carolina. I've known Rob for about 5 years now. Met him at NABJ back in Boston when I was still in college. And it was a real organic meeting and friendship that forged from that point on. I saw him in the mall during lunch, during one of the convention days, and he actually signaled for me to come on over and gave me a handshake, introduced himself like I don't know him and I didn't see him at the time on ESPN, but that meant a lot to me because it was real, it was authentic, and from that point on, we kept in touch, and throughout the years, he's really been important and key in helping me learn this business.
Rob Parker, I am blessed to be one of your mentees. I met you at the 2018 NABJ convention. I was taught by you at USC as a grad student, and I also won a few wing bets from you as a USC grad student. And everything that you've mentioned, you delivered on. It's been cool to learn from somebody that was involved with the industry, sports industry, for so long, and to have been able to accomplish so much in the sports industry. So I really appreciate you. You make me want to be able to pay it forward one day when I get to the point in my career that you're at. So Rob Parker, I appreciate you, and you've been one of the greatest mentors that I could ever ask for. So thank you.
I met Rob back in 2008 at an NABJ conference in Chicago. And, went behind the ear rookie, fresh out of college, didn't know anybody. I was at this mixer, and I'm just standing by myself in the corner, and he approaches me. And mind you, when he approached me, I knew exactly who he was. At the time, he was a big-time guy on ESPN, on Cold Pizza, so I was a big fan of his. And him walking up to me and just being kind to me and, showing me the ropes and asking me who I was, and the rest of that night, we talked the whole night. And we exchanged numbers, and my first job in news, I called him and I was excited, and I asked him a bunch of questions. It was to a point I was calling him weekly just to pick his brain, and he always answered the phone. He didn't make me feel like I was a nuisance to him. And that's who he is.
When it comes to mentoring, there has been no bigger influence on me in my life than Rob Parker. At a very early age in my journalism career, Rob took me under his wing, talked to me, critiqued my writing, gave me advice when I made the transition from just a print journalist to a multimedia journalist, and has been that voice in a corner that has always supported me in anything and everything I tried to do. And the one price tag that came with was this: when the time comes for you to be a mentor, Rob would tell me, you do it. You treat them with the same respect, the same open-mindedness, the same willingness to serve them and help them that I am with you. And that, for me, is a lesson that not only did I embrace as a young journalist, but I've also carried it on to the many mentees that I've had through the years. And I just can't thank Rob Parker enough for what he meant to me, my career, and for so many other careers of young journalists that have come forward since.
I think I met Rob in 2012. I was an undergrad at Oakland University in Rochester, Michigan, right? I think we were talking about basketball or something on Twitter, I believe it was. Next thing you know, I meet him dressed up at his burger joint, hot dog joint in Detroit. I think it's on 7 Mile. Hopefully, Rob, I'm trying to give you some promotion. Hopefully it's on 7 Mile. And it was a long time ago. And I came with clips of my writing, knowing now that I know Rob now, I'm like, Rob is not about to read this on the spot. Like, oh yeah, good job, man. No, he's not going to do that. But I was just so hungry to meet him, and I wanted to show him hey, I'm trying to get there. That's how I just came prepared like that. But ever since then, Rob has been giving me a lot of advice about the industry, about dealing with certain things, about just sticking with things and never giving up. And, he's been like a father figure.
Big shout out to the OG Rob Parker, man. I appreciate everything that you've ever done for me over these last couple of years, all the fellowship, all the mentorship, professional courtesy, just the game that you've blessed me with. I know we haven't had the longest relationship, but you are definitely one of the most influential people in my professional career at the moment. And I just want to truly thank you for that. And I just thank you for everything that you've done, man. Keep being great.
Rob is just a great dude, man, and one of the best people I've met through NABJ and just in the sports journalism community at large. Very responsive, always gives some great feedback and kind of builds up my creativity as a sports anchor. And most importantly, again, he's just a good dude. He's one of those guys that always sees people, make sure he acknowledges them, and make sure that he kind of takes the time out to catch up with you, see how your day's going, and get an update on your career. I'll never forget at NABJ Detroit, he was being honored, obviously, for all of the great work he did in Detroit over his career. And Fox Sports at the bar in the hotel was kind of taking care of his drinks, holding a little party for him, a little celebration. I was just walking by, standing by. I saw him. He saw me. He made sure to stop everything, get me in on that round of drinks, and catch up with me in that moment. I'll never forget that. And again, great dude. We'll give you the clothes off his back.
Ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to work in sports. In 2001, I got a great opportunity to work at Fox 2 in Detroit as an intern. That's when I met Rob Parker. Rob, from that day forward, became a friend and a mentor. He even had a chance to take me to my first NABJ convention, which I could not afford, and he helped me with the cost by allowing me to stay in his room. I really appreciate Rob for everything that he's done for me. I had a chance to have my own radio show and TV show. Rob would come on there and help me out anywhere he could. And then when I transitioned to athletic administration, he was very helpful in that transition as well. Last year, I was nominated for Athletic Director of the Year, and the first person I thought about was Rob because of all the help along the way. So Rob, thanks for all your help. Much appreciated. Keep up the great work.
Put it to you like this when it comes to Rob Parker. Rob Parker was for the culture before there was such a saying, before it was trendy, before it was hip. Rob always held it down, on camera and off camera. Obviously, we all know he speaks his mind, and we all know he represents us at the highest level, as well as anybody in this business. But it's really behind the scenes where Rob's influence, to me, is most meaningful. I met Rob not long after I broke into this business. He immediately put his arm around me. And not just put his arm around me and was like, hey man, you know, let me show you the ropes. Let me help you out. Let me introduce you to some folk. He immediately showed me a level of respect that I had not earned. And that's the thing about Rob that I love the most, is that he respects everybody, even those who haven't accomplished a fraction of what he has in this business. I love him dearly for that. He's been incredible to me. He's supported me every step of the way. He's been a mentor, he's been a friend, he's been a role model, he's been all those things. And just, you know, behind the scenes, he just does more than people realize. He's a mentor to many, he's a friend to many, he's everybody's favorite crazy uncle. One of a kind, Rob Parker. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for everything.
Sometimes you can have mentors working beside you and they don't even know that they're really mentoring you. They're going about their jobs, they're doing what they're paid to do, but they rub off on you. I definitely had that when I covered the New York Knicks for the Daily News. There were two mentors there every day helping me along. Cliff Brown, we call him Downtown Cliff Brown from the New York Times, and Curtis Bunn from Newsday. The three of us, three young black guys covering the Knicks, traveling the country, was awesome. But I learned so much from them. Cliff was so professional and he knew how to deal with people. And he was always on time. All the stuff that you want to get. I used to look at that and marvel at Cliff. And Curtis was, man, he was the hot shot guy. He knew everybody. The players would whisper in his ear. I used to watch Curtis, how he used to deal with people and how he would interact with people. There were different kind of guys, but we were all doing the same job. And those guys served as mentors to me, and I'm very appreciative. To this day, we have an unbelievable, unbreakable relationship, and I'm thankful for both Downtown and for Curtis.
Hey, this is Mark Spears from ESPN's Undefeated, and I certainly owe a lot of gratitude to Rob Parker, man. One of the best journalists in sports and just one of the world's best people. He was really helping me a lot early in my career, reading my stories, giving me feedback, telling me what I needed to do to be better. And he also just gave you a roadmap, man, on the success and showed you the right way to go and how to report well, how to build contacts, how to use your personality. I mean, Rob is all those things and an entrepreneur making money on the side. He showed you how to just be great in all aspects. So thank you very much, Rob, man. You mean so much to me, and I'm proud to be a mentee of yours.
Hi, I'm Vincent Goodwolf from Yahoo Sports. I'm a senior NBA writer, and I am certain I would not be in this position that I'm in if not for the mentorship of Rob Parker. Certainly there have been many others, but someone from the beginning, I can remember a text that he sent me, I think it was like 2007, to be honest with you, so it was maybe 13, 14 years ago. And it's just a random text. We were just going back and forth, and then maybe an hour later, he says to me, you're going to be a star. And I didn't know what that meant, and I didn't know how to take that. I thought that was something he told everybody. But he told me I had potential, and he explained to me later on, the things that I needed to do to be successful. And at that age, I hadn't had the guidance. I think a lot of times you hear mentorship, you hear or you think about criticism. And although Rob certainly has critiqued through the years, he's given honest encouragement.
I'm Martin Weiss. I'm an associate producer on Undisputed with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. And I would say that my mentor-mentee relationship with Rob Parker has evolved into what is now a genuine friendship. But the overall most important thing for me and Rob for my career is Rob turned from what I call a mentor to me is somebody who gives advice and will point you in the right direction. Rob advocated for me on several occasions to people who I would not have been able to reach with nearly the ease or the ability that I was able to. And the way I was introduced to a lot of very important people in this sports business through Rob, and that came from his belief in me and getting to know me through our mentorship experience. And so, I mean, Rob Parker's been an invaluable resource for me. I can say, like, without him, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I actually don't think it's hyperbolic to say that Rob Parker's probably done more for me than anybody outside of my direct family.
I want y'all to take a trip with me down memory lane. This had to be 2009, 2010, my first NABJ convention. I was a young college kid at Western Michigan University, see I'm representing always. Decided to go from down in Michigan to, I believe, in Tampa, Florida. And I met a lot of different reporters. I was starstruck by some of them, I'm not gonna lie, but I had the courage to approach this one guy who I saw on First Take, Rob Parker. Knew he had ties to Michigan, knew he had ties to Detroit, covering the Lions and things like that. I approached him, and he took me up under his wing from day one. I remember I came with this thick packet, clips and stories, and I gave them to him, and I gave them to a lot of people, but he was only one of the few to actually respond. And he marked my stuff up. I thought I was a good writer at the time. He marked it all up with red ink, told me what I need to work on, took the time. I always call him, lean on him, and I'm always thankful for Rob Parker for doing that, because had he not done that, I wouldn't be in the position I'm in now. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to cover the Utah Jazz and, make it to ESPN and work on a national level. It's because of that fundamental, opportunity that Rob Parker showed me of what being a mentor was. So shout out to you, Rob Parker, man. You really showed me what it was, how to be a mentor, how to pass it on to the next generation. And thank you for everything, man. A real definition of a mentor, kept it real with me from the jump. And it wouldn't be no Eric Woodyard without a Rob Parker. So shout out to you, man. I'm thankful for everything.
I had the pleasure of meeting Rob Parker in the summer of 1994 at the Detroit Free Press. I was a baby and Rob was a teenager. Actually, I was an intern and Rob was a columnist, and he had just gotten a job there in recent months. And I was part of the intern pool, and I have to say this about Rob. Rob made it a point to reach out to all the interns, introduce himself, let us know that, look, if you need anything, I'm here for you. And here's the thing about mentorship. I don't have a lot of Rob Parkers in my life because what he's done for me over the course of my career is not easy, and not everybody is good at it. And so you can do the math, 1994 to 2020, Rob's been part of my life over that time in a significant way, at every job, at every turn, and he has always been there whenever I reached out to him. And for me, I've taken cues from Rob over the years on what being a mentor means and what mentees expect from you. So Rob Parker, man, I love you. I appreciate you. You know how it is. Keep doing what you're doing. One love, brother.
Hello, my name is Jason Ingram. I'm Associate Director at Turner Sports NBA TV. And I'm lucky enough to have the pleasure of having Rob Parker as my mentor for the last 15 years. Rob has not only been a mentor to me, but a confidant and a great friend. Rob never indirectly has given me a job, but every single job I've had since coming into the journalism field, I've went through Rob to make sure it's the right decision. He's given me the good, the bad, the pitfalls that could come with the job, but each time he's given me the right advice. But that's not just what a mentor does. He doesn't just see about jobs. He sees who I am. He wants me to be a better person. He wants me to succeed. He wants me to not do any of the pitfalls that he had to go through when he was coming up. That's why I'm always so thankful to have Rob Parker as my mentor.
Hi, my name is Jason Dumas, and I met Rob Parker back in 2011, so darn near 10 years ago at this point. I was a production assistant at ESPN, working for one of the shows Rob was on ESPN, and he just took me under his wing. He actually took me out to lunch, and we had great conversation, and he actually helped give me the courage to leave ESPN and spread my wings and become a TV sports anchor on air. And that's what I've been doing ever since, and I've worked my way up, and now I'm a sports director in San Francisco at a TV station out here, and me and Rob have kept in touch the entire time. I visited him in Detroit when I was visiting my sister at Michigan, took me out. He's always there, a phone call away. He gets out here to Northern California a good amount because he's down in SoCal, and it's evolved into not only just a mentorship, but a friendship, and I'm so grateful to have him in my life as a friend and as a mentor, and he's really been paramount in my career success.
When it comes to mentorship, Rob is one of the most solid people I know. From the beginning, he's always showed me what's possible if you stay focused, and every time we're in the same city, we have a tradition where we link up, we have wings. He's consistently inspiring me and a lot of other young people like myself, so Rob is a solid dude.
This is Brandon Wellington. Most people know me as an actor, writer, and poet. But what most people don't know is that I was the in-game host for the New York Mets, and that's where I met Rob Parker. I'll never forget. It was 2015 Game 4 of the World Series. I gave the opening monologue. Rob came up to me at the first pitch and said, "I just want to say that it felt good to see another brother out front doing his thing. I'm Rob Parker." I said, "Rob Parker, you need no introduction, man. It's a pleasure. I grew up watching you." He said, "I feel like you're going to go on to do great things. Let's exchange contact. Next time I'm in New York, we'll break bread." Sure enough, next time he came to New York, next couple times, he took me out to lunch. We talked life, sports, and making it in this industry. About a year later, I got an opportunity to host NBA G League Weekly and sideline report for the NBA G League Finals on ESPN. I had never sideline reported before in my life, so I called Rob, and he stayed on the phone with me for as long as I needed, gave me all the advice I possibly could need to sideline report. And I just thank him. That's one of the many things he's done behind the scenes. So beyond being a sportscaster, Rob has been a mentor and a friend to many, and I'm one of the lucky few.
Rob was my way into the business. Rob used to, man, like I never forget, and I'm just humbled by it, because I remember I never forget I didn't have a job and I was trying to get in this business, and Rob took me from job fair to job fair, at NABJ, just holding my arm, saying, "Hey, this kid is trying to get in the business. He's trying to get in the game." Desk to desk, from the Boston Globe to the New York Times, New York Daily News, whatever. I said, this kid needs a shot. He just needs a shot. And a lot of people don't go to bat for you like that.
Long before Rob became a huge national media star, he was a quasi-starving journalism student attending Columbia University while simultaneously writing for the New York Daily News. Me, being just slightly younger and beginning my journalism journey, I used to often wake Rob from a deep slumber seeking his advice and counsel on an array of subjects and topics. Rob was always there for me. Over 30 years later, nothing has changed. He remains a true friend, a brother, and a trusted ear. Rob, I can sincerely say, brother, you have been one of the great mentors in my life.
Over the past 12 years, I've been able to reach out to Rob, whether it be for advice if a new opportunity presented itself, or just to talk about football, basketball, or baseball, or to remind Rob that he owes me on a Wings bet. Rob's mentorship has been invaluable, and I can honestly say that I would not be sitting here today as a director of digital sports at the Philadelphia Inquirer if it weren't for Rob.
Rob Parker gave me my first opportunity on television. He had a show called Rob Parker Sports Wrap, and back in 2006, I was chasing my man all around the city of Detroit trying to get a job. And he told me to leave my resume tape under some random door, and the door was random, had no name. So I left my resume tape under that random door, and then a few weeks later, he gave me my first job covering the Detroit Pistons every single week. And still to this day, he says he never looked at my resume tape. And I'm glad he didn't, because I wouldn't be in the position I am in now. Years later, and because of his mentorship, I can say thank you, Rob, for winning me a bunch of these.
And he saw how passionate I was about this career and the goals that I had, and immediately got my information, and that night texted me and reached out to me and really lent a lending hand, a helping hand when he did not have to do that. And ever since then, we built such a strong relationship. We make fun bets, and he's always one call away, one text away. And it's truly touching. And it's a valuable lesson that I'm extremely thankful for, that I've learned. And I can't wait to pay forward someday. And I'm very thankful for Rob Parker and the relationship that we have.
Meeting Rob Parker was like destiny for me. I was a young sports junkie and aspiring sports columnist who knew Rob from his photo bylines in the Daily News and Newsday. I also knew Rob because he grew up right around the corner from where I live in Addisley Park, Queens. The lady Julie that worked at the corner store also had his newspaper clips up in the store all the time, and she offered to introduce me one day because she knew I was an aspiring journalist. When I was in college studying journalism, I had to do a story on a reporter, and I called Rob over at the Daily News to try and interview him. After several attempts, we hooked up at a diner in Queens to do the interview. Rob was gracious as usual, and I did very well on the project. That was really my entrance into sports journalism world in 1995. From there, Rob plugged me in with the sports section at Newsday, and that was the beginning of a relationship that has spanned 25 years, with Rob now serving as the godfather of my 14-year-old son. Our love for baseball is the bond that ties us together. We've covered MLB All-Star games together, played on softball teams together, done podcasts and radio shows together, and even went head-to-head on a national sports debate show. There's not a more solid guy I know in the industry, and few better friends, if any, in the world. He's the mentor of mentees and has a coaching tree of successful young journalists that is comparable with any sports media OG in the game.